Hi everyone, my name is Hunter and I just finished reading Blood Meridian and I'm going to discuss it, share a few of my thoughts, and hopefully have a discussion because I think the ending is a bit more ambiguous than a lot of people online. This is the second Cormac McCarthy book I've read. This is his Magnum Opus. This is the most popular book he's ever written, and hopefully when this movie is adapted, I believe it's shooting now, it will be on a level of No Country for Old Men. Prior to reading this book, the only Cormac McCarthy book I have read was The Road. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. This felt like the first draft of things that it inspired. For instance, I think The Last of Us is a better version of this book. And I mean the video game. I do not mean the TV show. No. The video game. I'm happy to report that I really enjoyed Blood Meridian. It's an amazing book and it will be in contention for my book of the year. Basically, my book of the year goes by books I read throughout the year. It doesn't go by year of release because I'm not going to be able to keep up with that. If you haven't seen any of my prior videos, just be aware that I assume you've already interacted with the material, so there will be spoilers here. If you don't know the story or need a quick reminder, it is about the kid. He is our protagonist. He runs away from home when he's 14. He joins up with a group of people who are going to Mexico to reclaim some of the land, allegedly. After that group falls apart, he ends up joining another group of people, and these are just like the most vile group of human beings to ever exist. And this is where the majority of the story takes place. These people are going around and they are scalping Indians and they are turning them over for payment. Eventually they become outlaws, even more than they were initially, and the group just starts to feed in on itself and it completely falls apart. The most infamous thing out of this book is certainly the judge. The judge is one of the best characters I've ever read. The judge is described as almost this Frankenstein-like monster. He's over 7 feet tall. He has odd skin. He doesn't sleep. He certainly has human qualities, but not all of them. He is mythical. He is your literary fiction character here, right? He is your magic in the world. He's a pedophile. He murders puppies at one point. He kills people. He takes a simple man essentially as a piece of property and as his pet. Yet at the same time, he will shake a hand. He will honor a contract. He will bargain with people in his own group. He alone makes the book worth a read. Even if you don't end up loving this book, I'm sure you'll end up fascinated by the judge. Some of those things I described the judge as doing, as basically being a child rapist and all these other things, are a lot. Naturally, there's a lot of violence in this book, and I was reading a lot online and people were saying they were struggling with the violence in here, and I just thought about like Weenie Hut Jr. and the little ride going up and down. It's kind of my same thing. It's like when I read a horror book, I don't get scared. It's a horror book. You're reading words. Like, you're scared? Shut the book, bro. Yes, there are amazing descriptions of violence here, and I actually think they're kind of beautiful generally. Here's a good one here. Tobin jerked his foot away, rose, and stepped back. The fire steamed and blackened, and a gray cloud of smoke rose, and the calmer arches of blood slowly subsided until just the neck bubbled gently like a stew, and then that too was stilled. He was sat as before, save headless, drenched in blood. Amazing. I love that description. And Cormac McCarthy has a bunch of descriptions of violence in this book like that. And I think that's some of the best writing in here. I just don't get why that would turn someone off. That being said, a bit of the violence and other things do seem a bit excessive. It tends to feel like, oh, I need something shocking for the audience. Let me introduce something here. So I will share with you something that just feels completely unnecessary in the book. It's not like I was offended by it, but I just read it and I was like, I get it. He's a bad guy. Did you need to include this example? Like the pedophilia wasn't enough. But the judge had set forth, dogs dangling. He crossed upon the stone bridge and he looked down into the swollen waters and raised the dogs and pitched them in. So the judge basically bought a bunch of dogs from this guy, and then he went up on the bridge and he threw them into the river. Why? Because we needed a moment where the judge had to be a really bad, evil guy. I don't want to ruin this, but Attack on Titan is still my favorite show. The Bear is very close to passing it. In the final episode of Attack on Titan, they reveal something, and it really impacted how I enjoyed the show and how I saw the characters in the show. And if you've seen Attack on Titan, you know what I'm talking about, because I think it was a terrible decision where they connected everything and it was a step too far, And I just thought that if you pull it back just a bit, it would have been much better. And there are moments in this book where I feel like that, and pitching the dogs into the water is that moment for me. Now, pitch the dogs into the water, that's totally fine, but maybe pull back some of the other examples of how heinous these people are, just because we don't need those all the time, and it just doesn't serve the story overall. Cormac McCarthy is considered one of the great American writers, and after reading this, I totally understand. The Road is a good book in itself. It just doesn't hold up as well as I would wish. But when you read some of these descriptions, you understand why he's ranked basically in the top 3 or top 4 in America. I do plan on reading the rest of his books, and I'm looking forward to it, and then I can establish a more proper ranking of where the American elite writers end up. But I wanted to share this description here. And so these parties, divided upon the midnight plain, each passing back the way the other had come, pursuing as all travelers must, inversions without end upon other men's journeys. I love that. That's just incredible writing. I wish we got more of that. Just really good passages here, really good sentences. I love the syntax of this book. I do struggle sometimes because Cormac doesn't use quotes and he doesn't use commas a whole lot. So often you'll run into a giant sentence that's like half a page, and I really need a break. And it does ruin the writing a bit, I think, because it is hard to remember everything at the beginning of the sentence, because at some point, even when I'm reading in my mind, it feels like I do want to take a natural break to breathe, but Cormac is forcing me to continue to read that sentence. I read half of a chapter to someone that was staying over at my house, and I had to read one of these massive paragraph sentences out loud, and then that's when it really hit me, and I was like, okay, you need some commas, you need some periods, this is excessive. I get it, you're Cormac McCarthy, but we have gone too far on the anti-grammar rule here. There's another passage I want to share with you. I can't share it fully because there's a bunch of N-words in it, so I'm gonna do the general gist of it. Oh man, a lot of N-words. Brown turned toward the owner. Have you got a gun, he said. A gun? A gun. Have you got a gun? Not on me, I ain't. Brown pulled a small 5-shot Colt from his belt and pitched it to him. He caught it and stood holding it uncertainly. You got one now. Now shoot the... Wait a goddamn minute, said Owens. Shoot him, said Brown. Jackson had ridden, and he pulled one of the big pistols from his belt. Owens pointed the pistol at him. You put that down, he said. You get better forget about giving orders and shoot that son of a bitch. Put it down, goddamn man. Tell him to put it down. Shoot him. He cocked the pistol. Jackson fired. The best chapter of this book is towards the end when the kid has split from the group after it has basically fallen apart. He's with the ex-priest, and they are on the run from the judge. The judge is after them. He's hunting them down, essentially. He's trying to bring them back into the fold. But the ex-priest is advising him to stay away from the judge and to fire upon him and to abandon him and all these things. And the kid's morality keeps the ex-priest still around, regardless of the toll he's placing on the kid. But the judge and the priest are both advising the kid on what to do, and it's a fascinating thing because it has to deal with like the philosophies and essentially the whole metaphor of the book, right? Which is the ex-priest, which feels like the religion aspects of the book, and like in like Christianity and like this Western thought, juxtaposed to this ultimate evil morality of the judge, which essentially can be summed up with the following quote: moral law is an invention of mankind for the disenfranchisement of the powerful in favor of the weak. Historical law subverts it at every turn. A moral view can never be proven right or wrong by any ultimate test. So we have these opposing people here where we have the judge who's constantly preaching this idea of the only morality being the one that you can prove in combat. So he commits all these evil acts, and they're moral because he can pull them off, essentially. Nothing else actually matters. And then you have the ex-priest who's often telling the kid that these are wrong opinions and don't believe them. So we have this good back and forth between these two opposing viewpoints. Even though I would never behave this way, live my life under these rules, I do think the judge is ultimately correct, which is the idea that the morality that is correct is the one that wins. Essentially, that if you get in an argument with someone and you beat the other person to death, even if they're right, it doesn't mean anything because they're dead and you're alive. I really wish I had read this in college and wrote an essay on it, because there's so much to extract here. Like, this is kind of what analysis in English is for a book like this. You can get so many essays out of, I mean, just pick a chapter of the judge. He's going on some rants and you can dive into it and the implications in the book. I think this is the part that might be more controversial for a lot of people. I don't know for sure if the judge killed the kid. So I didn't even think about it when I read it through like that. So what we know is the kid goes to take a piss, and then he opens the door, and naked in the outhouse is the judge. And the judge rises up, grabs the kid, pulls him in, locks the door. That's all we actually know. We then have the next scene where someone goes to take a piss, and someone is pissing outside. It's not declared who, and they say, don't go in there. And he says, well, I gotta go, basically. And he's like, don't go in there. The guy ends up going in, and he says, oh my God. And that's all we actually get. So the implication for a lot of people is that they found the dead body of the kid there, because the judge is back inside the bar and he's doing his little demon dance thing. Now, I'm not sure that's exactly what happened. There's some interesting things online, perhaps that the kid succumbed to the judge there and that they had raped the Mexican woman from before. There's also the option, and this is the most extreme version of it, that the judge, because he was naked, molested the kid and then killed him. So there's just a lot of options there. There's the idea that the kid is still on the outside and he's the one that tells the guy who's going to the bathroom to not go in there. Why would the kid tell him to not go in there? I'm not sure. What would they be hiding? I'm not sure. But I do think the most likely thing is the kid died, but I'm not convinced that it is 100% what happened. I think it's left for interpretation. I think a lot of people would argue that McCarthy wants you to think that, but maybe it does close the loops on some of the themes there, where it seems that when the kid abandoned religion, the only thing that's left is the morality of the judge, which is the morality of, evil, or not evil, but of violence, and violence being the one true thing that supersedes everything. And that would make sense with him pulling the kid in and physically killing him, and then the judge still being alive and celebrating with his dance at the end. But I'm just not 100% convinced. Maybe I'll get there on a future read through, but currently I'm not there. Really good stuff. If you haven't read this book, I would encourage you guys to read it. I know I spoiled a ton of things, but honestly, I think even knowing a little about it going in will help. Please read this book if you haven't. Have you read Blood Meridian? If you did, I would love to know what you think about the ending specifically. Is the kid dead?